Oh, where's my music here? I've got some intro
Oh, you
music.
got intro music. Cool.
Uh-oh. We can't hear it though. Oh, here we
I
go.
can't hear it either. Like it's real faint. There it is. It's gone.
Yeah, you got it?
Okay.
There it is. Now I got it.
My pet peeve is like with the delay of people getting on Facebook broadcasting, and then it's like a weird intro, right? People are like, oh, I don't know, is this on? Oh, we're live. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just have music. And this intro, I will be explaining why we have music until we go live. Oh, there we go. Awesome. All right, we are alive. So welcome to day 2 of our 21-day summit. We are Kate and Tanner Wendell, and we have a very special guest here today for day 2. Ben Milton is with us. And Ben, actually, I don't know what, within the last maybe 6 months or so, maybe a year now, we connected. We're part of a larger, broader organization, but a mutual friend brought us together and was like, hey, you guys are working on similar things, thinking about this, about the network marketing industry for the 21st century, for the future, right?
Easier
We're really
said, right?
right. Yeah. Really looking at some things for automation and that sort of stuff. And so it was cool to just connect with you, Ben, and know that you've been in this industry for a long time. What, almost 20 years, right? About 17 years. And you've seen a lot of ups and downs, and just cool to have somebody with your experience, sort of looking at this from like, how do we automate it? How do we leverage the modern tools to build this glorious asset without being connected to our phones and our devices and our computers and stuff all the time. So it's cool. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
And so we just love to get, like a little bit more background of your story. And like start with, why did you get into network marketing?
I got into network marketing because I made a really poor career choice and got involved in radio. It's not exactly a growth industry. And my experience was I was working for the largest company in the radio world, iHeartRadio, and I was I was 27 when I got started, and I was working as an IT administrator and engineer. And I was let go of and replaced by a kid who just came out of high school, who had like an MCSE. This is back when Microsoft was like doing all the certifications and stuff like that. And they let me go because they could hire a kid who just got out of high school with the same certification for like a third of what I was costing. And I was 27 years old, and I went, oh my God, like if I'm already getting laid off because I'm worth, I can be replaced so easily, this is going to be a problem. Like, how the hell am I going to make it to 60, 65, right? I was like, this is not going to work. I need to figure something out. So I didn't know anything about the network marketing industry other than, the usual, like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. Nobody makes any money. You're going to have to like have a bunch of product in your garage, all those old myths that get touted around. And, but I was out, so I was looking for a job. I was actually looking for a job, and I got contacted the old school way. I was out at a mall in a shoe store, and I was like looking at dress shoes because I knew I was going to go on job interviews. And a dude came up to me and was like, "Hey man, like, we just started talking." And he was like, "Why are you buying shoes?" I was like, "Well, I'm doing job interviews." He's like, "Oh, you keep your options open?" Like that old line, right? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I do. Right now, I am keeping my options open. And he showed me his business plan like a day or two later, and the rest is history. That's how I got started. Yeah.
Got it. And so what happened? What did you end up finding a job? Were you just running the marketing thing full time, or sort of how did it evolve from
there? We got started, and we got started quickly. My wife and I worked really hard, and we were pretty fast in that organization for growing. But I did go get a new job because I wanted to have that steady income. I had not bought into network marketing as like a legitimate career for myself or something that I could do full time. It was just like, I just need to bridge until I get myself stable and figure out what my next move is, was really my intention. But it didn't take me long. I'll be honest, like within a couple months, like probably 2 or 3 months, I had totally bought in and was like, this is what I want to do. This is amazing. Like I love this industry. There's so many things about this industry, as much as it drives me nuts that we haven't updated our marketing techniques since like the 70s or 80s. There's so much other things about this business that really appeal to me and attract me and make me want to stay, that I was in right away.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, because that leads into my next question, which is like, okay, so then when did you make the decision like this is what you're going to do for life? Like you're a lifer regardless of how it looks. So it was early.
It was really early for me. I was a quick adopter.
What was it like? What was like the one thing where you're just like, oh, this makes sense to me now?
It was we were getting recognition. We were doing hotel meetings, and after the meeting, like you would have like a little recognition and training after every meeting, and we were getting some recognition. And I remember talking, like just telling people like what I thought about the business. I'm just like how excited I was for the first time about a career, because I'm a college dropout. I'm a high school push out. Like I really shouldn't have graduated high school. They were just like, all right, well, it's private school and you're paying a lot of money. Go on. You paid your way to graduation. and so like I wasn't a good student. So I didn't have like, it wasn't like I was like, well, I guess I could just like finish my law degree or anything like that. Like that wasn't going to happen. But I really wanted to have an impact on people. And I remember during that training, I was just telling like, I'm so excited because this is the first time in my life where I felt like I have complete control. I can make something of myself and make it my own. And I hate my job. I hate what I'm doing. I hate the career that I'm in. I just want to do something else. And people's eyes were lighting up. And people were like, yes. And like people would come up afterwards and they're like, I totally resonate with that. That's so me. That's exactly how I feel. That was incredible. And it was then where I was like, I'm onto something here. I'm tapping into something with other people and myself that's making me feel like I'm coming alive and helping other people come alive too. And that's what did it for me. I was just like, yep, this is where I should be, because I don't get that anywhere else.
Yeah. And it kind of leads into what we've talked about a lot with ourselves, the great things that have come out of being a part of this industry, how it's enhanced our relationships, or from a financial standpoint, if that's it, or just the experiences that we had. So just share some of the cool things that you've seen being a part of network marketing and how that has impacted your life in a positive way.
I'll keep it to just like the big one. How's that? Yeah. Because of network marketing, I learned about self-improvement, right? Like we do a lot of self-help stuff, and we're constantly reading books and listening to things that help us develop as people and become better people. Because of that, my marriage was improved. When we first started, we were in marriage counseling, arguing all the time, constantly kind of bickering and fighting about money and things like that. And through the process of growing this business in this industry, like I started to learn how to communicate with my wife better. And she started to learn how to communicate with me better. We started to grow up. We started to learn and develop into actual adults instead of like the neutered people that a lot of people are, and they're just like not really fully themselves because they're so afraid of stepping on the wrong toes at work, or they're afraid of saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, and everybody kind of like does that weird dance that we do. And I stopped doing that, and she stopped doing that, and we started working together as a couple towards a common goal of getting her home from work and starting a family. And once we made that decision that that's what we were going to do, we did that in 6 months. She came home, and I followed, I think, 9 months after that. And we decided to start a family. Well, unfortunately, we suffered from unexplained infertility, so we couldn't have kids. But we spent like 20 grand of our business money that was coming in to try and have kids, which didn't pan out. So it was just like 20 grand that we just threw away that I would not have had if we were just doing our regular jobs, right? So we decided to adopt and foster kids. So, and we did. We have now adopted 2 kids with special needs. And I have to tell you, like, my marriage would not have survived if I had not had that time to learn how to communicate with my wife, and how to have that time for us to develop as a couple, and communicate well and understand each other and be on the same page with things, and make plans and strategies and stuff like that. So many skills that I learned made the process of having extremely difficult foster kids in our care doable, truly doable. And now, like, whether I made another dime in this industry is irrelevant, because I've got a family, like, and that's worth more to me than anything else. So I love my kids, and they're amazing. My wife is incredible. And like that really was the surprise gift that network marketing gave me, was a family.
Yeah. We talk about that too, because we think of how each of us was before we met,
Right.
and was before network marketing and before the personal development that you talk about. We would definitely not be together. No. At all. And how it has enhanced our relationship and our marriage, and how we handle children, and really just the relationships that we have in general with people. So that's a really beautiful thing to share with people. And I think it's important for others to know that it's not just like, oh, let me figure out how to make a buck, which,
Right.
and having, and particularly nowadays, right? Like the current situation, like money is a factor right now, and people are figuring out like how they're going to have income, and will they have a job after all of this. So, this is definitely a beautiful outlet for that. But there's so much more behind it, which I'm really glad that you shared that story. So we're not blind to the fact that network marketing has a bad rap out there,
Right.
too, right? So we're fully aware. And well earned, right? What would you say is the biggest issue, though, with network marketing currently? And and really maybe any advice, like how you think that could be overcome?
Yeah. I have a couple gripes with the industry that I'm trying to at least rectify within my own team, right? And then hopefully, like, in the same kind of things that you guys are doing. I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to this issue that even though it's in the name network marketing or multi-level marketing, marketing has been almost ignored by this industry for 30 years.
It's crazy.
It is. It's insane for a marketing industry, but to not evolve its techniques and the things that it does and how it represents itself for 30 years is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. So I'm excited to be like bringing like new modern techniques and ideas, just like you guys are doing, into the industry, and like using automation and funnels and chatbots and advertising and all sorts of things like that. There's podcasting and YouTubing and streaming and all that. Like, there's so many different ways and new ways to build this business, rather than having to go out and meet a bunch of people or send 30 messages every single day and sit in Facebook groups and spam people and, hey girl, how are you? I did all that stuff, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy that process at all, because the problem with it is that belly-to-belly marketing and a lot of the social media marketing techniques all require you to fail a lot. And the reason that there's such a high dropout rate in this industry is because our brains are not wired to seek out failure. We're wired to avoid failure at all costs. Failure means you die when you get down to the core of it, of how your brain works. And so most people, like 90% of the people, like, aren't gonna do this that way, because there's so much failure that you face. You're getting rejected by friends, you're getting rejected by family, you're getting rejected by strangers. You're getting rejected, and you're getting told by friends and family, oh, you're still doing that thing, it's a pyramid, and all this, all this negativity, and all that is so hard to overcome. That's why we have such a huge dropout rate in the industry, because people just aren't wired to face that much rejection. I've said it publicly before, and some people took issue with it, but whatever. I'm gonna say it again anyway. I think a lot of the diamonds that went diamond belly to belly, they're a little bit psychopath. They're a little bit psychopath where they just don't care enough about people's rejections and other feelings about them, that they're just able to just go through that. And it's just numbers to them. They're just like, whatever, man, next, somewhere 6 well, right? And like, it's easy to say that, but when you're the guy who's a normal person getting all that rejection, that sucks. That sucks so bad. So I'm excited to bring marketing back to the industry, because I think that eliminates a lot of the rejection. When you do marketing correctly, you're not getting rejected nearly as much, because you're taking somebody through the process with you, and that just seems to have a much bigger impact on people, and people seem to really resonate with that right now in the industry. So that's my biggest gripe.
It's so interesting, real quick on that note, because I was thinking about, what we're doing here and what you're doing, and like you said, sort of the evolution of the industry, and also recognizing that still 95+% of the tactics are from 30 years ago, and people are still operating just because they don't know any better in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
It's just like what gets handed down is what gets handed down, and it works for some and it doesn't for many, like you said. And I was like, okay, so there is time associated to building up content and building funnels and figuring out email lists and figuring out messenger bots and all of those things that we're doing, right? Which, to your point, there isn't always that immediate rejection or feedback. It's like, well, I didn't just go send one message and they either responded or they didn't. It's like, I've got to take some build brick by brick by brick to actually build the building to see if they come. And I'm like, well, would I rather spend my time trying to whisper my message into people's ears that may or may want to hear it, or spend my time communicating my message publicly and allowing the people that actually do want to hear it to find it? Right. And that's really kind of the difference that I see. It's like, you're going to spend your time one way or the other. How do you want to do it? Right. What do you want to be doing with it? And there are options. So anyway, that's great. And I think that's why we connect on a lot of this stuff. So
100%.
much.
Yeah. This just makes so much more sense to me. It's doing the same things. It's not taking the people out of the business. It's not taking those relationships out of the business. Like, that's one of the big fears people say, like, oh, when you say like, oh, well, I'm automating my MLM, like, a lot of people who don't understand automation will go, oh, well, you're ruining the business because you're taking the relationships out of it. And it's those lines between the circles that keeps us all together. And what I'm discovering in my own process is that actually, like, those lines are stronger now, and I have a better relationship with my team that I'm working with this stuff on, because we're talking about things that like excite us and get us like, we're learning and we're growing together. And it's not just like, hey man, did you do your PV this week? Like, like, hey, did you sponsor anybody? Like, it's like, no, what are you building? What are you making an offer for? And how are you using, what's the script that you're using for this and that? And we're just having like this much more interactive dialogue. Whereas before, it was just me just spouting off to my team and telling them what they should be doing. And that was so unproductive. So unproductive.
Yeah. We've been there.
Yeah. It's not fun. It's not fun.
Right.
And I think that's why, to your earlier point, real quick, just to underscore it, is that, people aren't used to that experience, right? That for the first sort of sign of rejection or things get uncomfortable and dealing with people is like, okay, tuck tail and run, right? This isn't good. And it also really ties back to your earlier point, which is huge for me too, which is the personal development, right? That you have to be exercising your mind and your emotions and sort of the soft side of your personality and your body, in order to handle the weight, right, per se, to kind of use that analogy of what's going to come at you if you want to continue to move and evolve in the industry. I saw a quote, I don't know if it was really from Steve Jobs, but it was something like, if you want everybody to like you, go sell ice cream, don't start a business, or, something like that. And it's really true. And it's been certainly a learning experience for me as well.
I think also, if you look at it from, let's say, a business that's a brick and mortar, they're going to still, or really any, any big business, they're going to still market. They have to market, and they have
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
some level of advertising for people to know that, hey, my doors are open, come in and buy. How many times do you go into a department store or some kind of, let's just use clothing for an example, and you go in and you're browse, and the people come up to you like, oh no, I'm just looking, right? And then they go in and they browse and stuff, and they walk out like they didn't buy anything, right? So it's the same thing, but it's just now it just looks differently. We're a distribution company, right? We don't have a store to walk into, but you still have to market. You still have to market to people who are going to want your product. And we're offering how to be able to learn how to market, right? Like we didn't learn
Right.
this. We're learning it, and now we're sharing it, right? And not everyone's going to buy, right? Not everyone going into a store is going to buy something.
Right.
Are we going to close the doors and be like, oh, no one bought anything today, so let me close my doors? And so like people don't necessarily understand that it's really the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just looking a little differently. And if you apply the same principles to just sort of how the traditional business look to how network marketing can look, a lot of those things are the same.
Yeah.
We're just sort of using a different vehicle for it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To me, it's a matter of tools, right? Like you can go in the backyard and dig a 6x6 ditch using your hands, and it'll take you all summer. Or you can go back there with a backhoe and do it in 20 minutes. Like
Right.
Either way, there's a 6x6 hole in your backyard. But which way do you like? Do you want to get it done today, or do you care if it gets done in a year? So like for me, it's a matter of efficiency, and that was one of the things that I was taught early in my business, was to use tools, because tools speed up the rate at which you can accomplish a task. Right? Like we used to give out CDs, and we would give out CDs, like specific CDs to specific people, because they would resonate with that story or whatever. And that would help them like kind of like, oh, okay, this is, I can do this, right? This is just another way. This is just another tool or another set of tools that you can use to build your business. That's really how I look at it. And it's not any more complicated than that. The how the business structure works and everything else about the business really remains intact. It's just a matter of actually using modern techniques to create lead generation and sales. That's all it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're kind of talking about it, but maybe there's something specific in where you see most people struggle, like when you have, you're talking to your team, and where are those hiccups for people, and then what's your advice to them?
It's funny because I'm actually doing a beta test course right now for a class that I'm gonna sell later. But where I see people getting stuck at in this whole process was like they're very into like identifying who their customers are and their avatars are and all that stuff, and everything was like, it was going really smoothly until we got to publishing, and people get really scared about publishing. People got really scared and unsure about publishing.
Yeah.
Which like is kind of weird for me, because I come from a broadcasting background. Like I don't know, I've done like 6 or 7 podcasts now. I love podcasting, and I'm Twitch streaming and Facebook streaming. Like broadcasting comes second nature to me. So it's a little bit weird for me to be like, well, why don't you want to get on? Like, this is so easy. Like, but I understand, like it's a huge fear for a lot of people. So like we backed it off. Like we just kind of like said, listen, pick one social media outlet that you're most comfortable with. If that's Facebook, great, publish on Facebook. If you're not comfortable doing video, great, don't do video. Just write your posts, but be consistent about it, and start executing it. You don't have to be perfect at it. I don't expect you to be perfect at it. And we started training them, on scripts and how to tell stories and stuff like that. So publishing to me is the big hiccup right now, because you have 2 choices to build your business. Let's just put it out there. You have 2 choices to build this business. You can either build it through sweat equity and telling stories and publishing and doing things like that, or you can go buy leads. Those are your 2 choices. That's it. And if you don't have the money to buy leads, then you got to get good at publishing. Ideally, you want to do both, but that's sort of the big the big hurdle for most people to overcome is to figure out like, oh, hey, I do have a story to tell, and overcome that imposter syndrome. A lot of people, a lot of the pushback that I get is, well, I'm not there yet. I'm like, I don't care. Like, you're farther along than anybody else is that's listening to you right now. Let them know that, and just document the journey. Like, I love how like, that was a huge takeaway for me from Gary Vee, which was document the journey. And as long as you're documenting the journey and doing that in a meaningful way, intentionally marketing that journey, you're going to have success. That's how I think about it.
I think also if people, because we've heard, or at least I've heard people say how, well, my story doesn't matter. Like, people don't want to hear from me. I don't want to be, I don't want to complain. And I always come back to the things that I've gone through. If I can relay that to someone with the struggles that I've been through and how I've worked through them or continue or currently working through them, if I can share that with someone that can help someone else take action in their life, then my trial hasn't been in vain.
Right.
And I think people don't really get that concept. And if we all have a purpose here in this world, we've all gone through struggle, some bigger than others for people, but they're all there for a reason to help us personally for whatever that purpose may be, to get through something. But then to be able to share that with someone, to be like, hey, you're not alone. Like, if I could tell someone how like they're in a depression and they're not alone and their life is worthy and they should keep fighting, because I did, and I saw how my life was able to get turned around. Like, I would want that for someone else. So, I just think that sometimes, I think you're right. When it comes to publishing, it's really hard for people to wrap their head around that, like, their story and the things that they went through are worth sharing. They're worth sharing.
Yeah. Can I share a quick story with you on that topic? It was fast because last night, actually, we got a post in our Facebook group where we're running this beta test at, and it was from one of the girls who's in the class with us, and she's a network marketer, and the gist of her story basically was, I had tried everything that my upline told me to do. I was completely burnt out. I wanted to quit. I was ready to quit. You offered this course to me, and it has changed everything in my business. And I'm more fired up about my business and my opportunity than I have ever been. Wow. Like, if I had thought, well, I don't have everything in place. I don't have all the funnels built. I don't understand traffic. I don't understand ads. I don't understand this. I don't understand that. Who am I? If I had given into that imposter syndrome, she'd be out of the industry. She'd be done. And I wouldn't be any farther in my business either. So I just don't give into that. Like, don't let that voice tell you you're not worthy. Your story is unique, and it is going to impact somebody that I can't, Tanner can't, Kate can't. You have that ability, not us. Like, the world is waiting to hear your story. And it is so important to learn how to tell your story. And it's so important to then execute and tell it continuously over and over and over again, so that people hear it. And you're going to get sick and tired of telling it, but it has such a powerful impact on people that don't hide that from the world. Please do not hide that from the world. We don't need that right now. We need more people stepping up and telling their stories of overcoming and being successful right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that, I think about that, and I mean, this has been one of the big challenges for me that I still find. I mean, that was part of like doing this setup. I'm like, okay, if we're going to have all this stuff, like, we're going to use it, right? Like, right. It's one thing just to like string together a mic and the laptop and like, okay, let's go do this live video. But I'm like, this is here. It's always here. Like, we're going to do this. And take this seriously. But, I think one of the things, and I just, from a phone call I had earlier, kind of realized this, is that I think we experience, and especially now, the news media and sort of the big voices in society are so prominent, right? Like, it's everywhere that we turn, and that can be annoying to a lot of people. And so I think people go, well, I don't want to be the annoying news, right? I don't want to be in your face all the time. I don't want to be perceived as arrogant. There's generally, for myself at least, there's some judgment, like, oh, what are people going to think? And then it's been the journey to realize, like, you know what? Like, I don't like what's on the news. Like, I don't listen to any of that garbage. And I hear some good stuff, but I'm not hearing, like, I don't hear enough of the kinds of messages that I would like to hear, which means I should probably contribute to that message. Right. So that for me, and especially, right now for people that it's easy to complain about your current situation. But I always say, if you're not doing something about it, like the complaining about it is like, it just literally does nothing, right? It might feel good for a little bit, and that's fine. And we all have our moments. But at the end of the day, if you don't turn around and figure out how to start digging your ditch, and, like, there are people making a lot of money right now, right? There are a lot of people that are concerned about money, and there's also money flowing to a lot of other people that, are business owners that see opportunities, that are serving communities and serving people. And I think there just couldn't be a better example of, why now is a great time to start to learn to communicate. And it's a learned skill, right? I mean, I've certainly had to learn a lot of things about communication, to not just throw up all my previous drama on people, but some people got a little throw up on them, right? I'm sorry, if you were one of those people, but it happens. We're all better for it. So anyway, I think that's great what you're doing, Ben. And really appreciate having you on. Any final questions, closing remarks?
I just want to say thank you for being one of those people in our industry to just show a different path, and that you're leading your team in a great way. We want to do, we're in the process of continuing that journey with you, and doing that as well. And I hope that more and more people get that. Like, this is with our current situation, this is really a great opportunity for people, and we want that. So thanks for doing what you do.
Well, thank you guys. This has been an honor, and I mean that. Like, it's sweet of you guys to ask me to be on the show. I really do appreciate it, and I'm so excited to see where you guys take this and how far it goes. And before we were recording, I was like, I love this show already. Like, I'm so excited for you guys. I'm a total podcast nerd, so this is going into my subscribe button when it comes out, and I love it. I love it. I'm so happy for you guys, and I'm so glad to be on this journey with you. I think we're gonna wake a lot of people up. We're gonna change the industry. There's a few people out there who are doing this kind of thing. There's not a lot of us yet, and that's exciting. It's also challenging because you don't have all the resources necessarily that you would like to have, but man, you guys are putting together something amazing. And if anybody's on your team and questioning whether or not you guys are going the right direction, man, do not. This thing is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be so much fun.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, and plug your podcast.
Yeah, my podcast is Downline Automation, and it's where we talk about how the things that we're doing to automate our downline, and the process of automating sales, and the process of automating recruiting, so that people are coming to me and I'm not having to chase people. It is not a company specific. It's industry standard industry stuff, so that anybody can listen to it and share with their teams and stuff like that. And so I'm just documenting that journey of from start to finish. It started January 1st, and we're, I think, 18 episodes in now, and I'm loving it. I'm getting such great feedback from it. It's really cool.
Awesome. Well, we wish you all the best and much success with the podcast and just with your team and through everything. So we'll, of course, keep in touch. But thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. Take care.
Bye.